everybody. Welcome back. My name is Jamie Wood. I'm the VP of Sports here at Special Olympics Montana, joined today by two of my colleagues, Scott Held and Lisa Romig. We're all coming to you live from our houses today with a very special announcement about the 2021 Regional Bowling Championships. So I think everybody is aware that this year has certainly been a challenge with COVID-19. And with continuing concerns about the spread and the exposure, we've decided to alter the winter bowling season. We're excited to let everyone know that in lieu of the Regional Bowling Championships in Big Fork, Butte, Billings, and Havre, we're going to reveal to you a new plan today. We're going to introduce today the 2020-2021 Bowling Blitz. And guys, you all know that we're very optimistic here at Special Olympics Montana. So we had to come up with a cool tagline to go along with the Bowling Blitz name. So here it is, guys. We're rocking and bowling into 2021. Very excited to be here today to talk about it. I'm just going to kind of talk a little bit about, as we did with the Fall Basketball Challenge, we will be running two separate seasons, one for the adults and one for the students and their school age programs. Adults are going to run starting in November and be finished up before Christmas. Then we'll give everybody a nice time to take a break for the holidays, spend a time with your family. And after the first of the year on January 4th, we'll launch the school age seasons. Scott's going to go into more details here momentarily about the competition, give you specifics on those dates. Lisa's then going to talk to you about what kind of paperwork you need to participate in the 2020-21 Bowling Blitz. And then I'm going to come back on and give you a little bit of details about what practices are going to look like. So with that, I'm proud to introduce today our sports director, Scott Held.
Hey everybody. It's good to be talking to you guys. We're really excited about what we're doing here, and we're going to be rocking and bowling into 2021. It's super exciting. I'm super pumped. So I've got a few things to talk to you about today that revolve around competition, some of the registration forms, and then awards. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is what competition is going to look like for the Bowling Blitz. There's going to be two options for competition, just like there was for the Fall Basketball Challenge. The first option is going to be our traditional, just like we did for the Fall Basketball Challenge for you guys that got together and practiced with your team. And that's going to be in-person practice and competition. So this isn't going to look like a traditional bowling tournament has in the past. You know, as we're modifying things, we're going to make sure you guys still have the opportunity to get together in practice and get together if you guys are comfortable with it and actually compete and practice together as a team at your local bowling alleys in your hometowns. So the competition itself for in-person is going to actually look a lot like a traditional bowling tournament would that I know a lot of you have come to in the past. And that competition is going to include 5 different types of events. But the first 3, it's going to be singles, just like we normally have. Singles ramp unassisted, singles ramp assisted, and then in addition to singles, which we're excited to be able to offer, we're going to be able to do traditional doubles where you can bowl with one of your teammates, or unified doubles, where you can bowl with a unified partner, which is super exciting that we're able to do some unified competition. Now, how this is going to work through the entirety of this competition is you guys are going to, you're going to go to practice, you're going to do, make sure you're doing your best at practice, doing stretching and all the fun stuff, and then from there, you guys are actually going to send in scores. So your coaches are going to send in scores to us. And what we're going to take and division you on and then also base your awards on is the 2 best scores that you guys are able to achieve over the entirety of your practice season. Now, those 2 best scores will be for you. They'll depend on what division you get in, and then in addition, they'll also depend on how you finish inside of that division. Now, for doubles, which is the interesting part, for doubles, so for traditional doubles and for unified doubles, what we're going to do is take your guys' same 2 best scores that you have for singles, and we're going to add it together with your teammate, whether it's a unified partner or another athlete. We're going to add together both of your 2 best scores, and that's going to get your doubles score. And then that's how we're going to find out what awards you guys receive based on that. So, yes, practice hard and get the 2 best scores that you guys can over the course of your practice season. Now, the second option for competition that we have available is going to be a compete from home option. Now, the compete from home option, very similar to the fall basketball challenges compete from home option. You're going to have 3 different skills that are available, and it's going to be participation-based competition versus divisions. So keep in mind, with the in-person competition, you will be bowling against athletes from all over the state. So, athletes down in Bozeman, you guys could be bowling against athletes from Havre or from Opheim or something like that. Okay. Now, with the compete from home level, it'll be participation-based. So you guys, depending on how many events that you guys complete, that's how you'll get your guys' awards. But we wanted to make sure we had an option available for you guys that wanted to stay home and compete, or some of you guys that might be higher risk. Now, for the divisioning for the in-person, I mentioned the divisioning. So you guys will be divisioned against athletes from all across the state from competition. And how we're going to division you guys, the first 2 things we'll division you on are your gender and then the score that your coaches submit. So if you're a male, you'll be bowling against other males. If you're a female, you'll be bowling against other females. And then you'll be bowling against folks who have similar skill levels at the same time. Then the third thing we're going to division you on is your guys' age. So in general, if you are an adult athlete that's 30 years old, most likely you'll be bowling against athletes that are, in that 30 age range as well, or possibly in your mid to upper 20s. So in that ballpark. So yes, score, gender, and then age. Okay, now awards. How awards are going to work is, since we're divisioning you, just like we would for a regular competition, you guys will receive a gold, a silver, or a bronze medal, or 4th, 5th, 6th place ribbons, depending on how many people are in your division, just like you would at a normal competition. And then, for our compete from home athletes, if you complete 3 different events, you guys, if you complete all 3 of the events, you guys will receive a medal, and if you guys complete 2 or less of your compete from home events, you guys will receive a ribbon for going ahead and participating in the compete from home stuff. Okay, now this next section I need to move on to. This is more addressed towards coaches and LPCs. So for this one, guys, we have a variety of dates that'll be coming up, and at the end of this video, I will be sharing those dates, and when we send out the registration packets and information, we'll also be sharing these dates. So just go ahead and make sure you watch the end of the video if you want to see these dates on a slide. Okay, the first thing that's going to be the first thing that's going to happen for everybody, both school-aged and adult-aged, is we're going to send out the registration packet. And what that'll include is your registration and final scores form. And in addition to that, it'll also include the game's information packet that tells you everything you need to know about practice and about the competition and what the various modifications look like for competition. The next thing you need to know, so for the adults, the PPE request forms, if you guys need thermometers, the PPE request forms for the adults are also due on October 26th. Then the registration preliminary forms, and all paperwork, including the code of conducts, are also due then on November 30th. So that's where we'll take all your paperwork, your medical paperwork, all of that stuff, and then we'll actually take your preliminary scores and put your athletes in divisions. And then your final scores for your adults, you guys will send those in on December 18th. In the following week, we will compile those final scores and the awards, and we'll get everything all finished up. Now, for our school-aged folks, you guys, as Jamie mentioned earlier, are going to be going after the new year. So we'll have a break for Christmas and the new year. And what will happen is we'll actually resend out the registration forms and packets in case you guys happen to lose those. And then from there, we will also, you guys will send in your PPE request forms. You'll make sure that, because those will be due on December 21st. And then also from there, the registration, preliminary, and paperwork scores. You got all of those forms then will be due. So again, guys, sorry for a little bit of internet breakup there, which just happened. Hopefully we'll get everybody back. But registration, preliminary scores, and paperwork scores then will be due on January 25th for all the school folks. Your final scores will be due on February 12th. And then the week after that is when we'll compile final scores and send out the awards. Now, the last thing I want to mention is we will have a separate web page set up for the entirety of the Bowling Blitz competition. And that web page, just like for the Fall Basketball Challenge and the Virtual State Summer Games, that web page will be available on the actual, will be available on somt.org. And it'll have all the resources that I just talked about will be available there. So you guys, and we hope to have that up by October 19th. So go ahead and check out that page. We hope to get it up sooner, but latest we'll hope to have it up by October 19th. So, that was a lot. But yes, we're excited to do some bowling, and we're excited for you guys to be able to be at your home bowling alleys for some of this. Yeah, so now that's about all I have for you. So I'm going to transition things over here to Lisa, who also has some stuff to tell you.
Thanks, Scott. Good morning, everyone. As always, we need current paperwork for all of our participants. For athletes, it's going to be the athlete medical, the consent, the code of conduct, and the COVID-19 code of conduct, which consists of the 2 pages. I must have both pages in order for me to get those processed. Even for the athletes who are competing from home, you will also need current paperwork and this COVID-19 code of conduct. On our volunteers and unified partners, you will need a current volunteer application, protected behavior test, and the COVID code of conduct. Once again, the 2 pages are needed. All this paperwork could be submitted to me at lroig@somt.org, or you can fax it into me at 406-770-4456. As Scott was saying, the paperwork due dates are for the adult team, November 30th of 2020, and then for our school-age teams, it'll be January 25th of 2021. Now, with the exception, the COVID-19 code of conduct, which must be submitted no later than after the first official team practice. So please get those into me right after your first practice. In addition to these forms for the participants, all programs must complete the COVID-19 screening and tracking form at the beginning of each practice. There you will ask each participant a series of questions, take their temperature, and document it on this form. These forms do need to also be turned in to me. And if you have questions on any of these things that I've covered now, feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, back to Jamie. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lisa. And as Lisa mentioned, when we come back to practices, just like we did with the Fall Basketball Challenge, teams are going to have to abide by several protocols and guidelines that have been put in place by Special Olympics International and now adopted by Special Olympics Montana. One of those is the COVID screening that Lisa just mentioned, filling out those tracking forms. So prior to entry to practice, athletes are going to have athletes, unified partners, coaches, team volunteers, whoever's attending practice will need to have a temperature check. They will be asked 4 questions, have to answer those, saying no to all of them. Otherwise, we will have to look at what happens if they show up with symptoms, or they say they've been sick, or they've been exposed to someone. There's protocols put in place for each of those scenarios. But that COVID-19 screening is important, and filling out those tracking forms is imperative. In case we were to have a positive test, we can then provide the county with the proper documentation for contact tracing. The other thing we're going to have to consider as we return to our practices is the size. State limitations and Special Olympics North America limitations right now say we cannot have more than 50 people at practice. We would encourage you to include a handful of the bowling alley staff in that number when you're planning for your practices. It's almost impossible to not have them interacting with our group, whether they're down resetting a computer or helping retrieve a stuck bowling ball. So be very cognizant of that. We are finding out from some of the bowling alleys that they may even go with numbers smaller than 50, but 50 is the limit that we are setting here at Special Olympics Montana. We also want to make sure that as you're working with your bowling alleys, we're cognizant of their hazing procedures. We want to make sure that we're doing our own. So make sure we have hand sanitizer at practices. We've got some extra sanitizing materials like bleach water or Lysol and Clorox wipes just to wipe down shared surfaces. Bowling balls, if they're being transitioned from one athlete to the next, we do not want to have shared equipment, especially a bowling ball. Don't hand it back and forth. Each athlete needs their own bowling ball. Again, just like we did with Fall Basketball Challenge, unfortunately, we will not be able to allow spectators into the bowling alley to watch practices. It's going to be team volunteers and coaches along with the participants, athletes, and unified partners only. We are going to be releasing 2 head coaches and local program coordinators through some trainings, and I'll give you those dates momentarily, some very specific guidelines for bowling. I'm going to just share a couple. 1, face masks. Those are going to have to be worn at all times, even while athletes and unified partners are bowling. And 2, we have to be sure and address like practice pods. So when you're setting up practices for your teams, if you're going to have multiple practices, athletes stay in the same day each week. So if I'm in the Monday practice pod, I'm going Mondays. If I'm in the Wednesday, I'm going Wednesdays. If I'm going Thursdays, I'm going Thursdays. We don't want athletes crossing over. That helps reduce exposure. Also, when you get into your practices, when you start putting athletes and or unified partners on a lane, put the same athletes, same unified partners practicing together on a lane each week. We just really want to make sure that we're reducing any chances of risk the best we can. To help teams get back to practices, we are going to be offering out thermometers, much like we did with the Fall Basketball Challenge. There has been a online link shared out by the outreach team. In breast number of athletes will be distributing thermometers on a ratio number of athletes to the thermometers. For the adult teams, we need those requests in by the 26th of October so we can ship you your thermometers that week. For the school age teams, we need those in, I believe, on December 21st so that we can ship them prior to Christmas. Okay? So we're going to do our best to at least make sure all teams have thermometers. It's highly unlikely with bowling alleys because we've never run into it before. But if they are asking for some sort of a facilities request, make sure those go to our state office to Cindy Reichwam. We'll make sure that all of your local program coordinators have her email address, phone number. We do not want volunteers signing off or be responsible for those. We haven't had those in the past, but with COVID, who knows? So be prepared for that. And then last but not least here, we will be hosting trainings for local program coordinators and head coaches. Those will start tonight at 5:30 p.m. Again, a go-to-meeting invite has been circulated to them. If you are an LPC and you did not get it, please be in touch with Mandy or Nancy as soon as possible so they can get that out to you. If you're unable to attend this evening, please know that we will host a second one on Wednesday at noon during the lunch hour. I assume those will take about an hour as we get through everything that we need to cover, but really looking forward to share even deeper details of the Bowling Blitz with the local program coordinators and head coaches and giving them an opportunity to ask questions if there's something that doesn't make sense. On behalf of all of the staff here at Special Olympics Montana, we are so proud of our athletes, inspired by them. Same can be said for our volunteers through this entire process. We know this is not bowling as we know it, but we're going to make the best of it. We're going to have a lot of fun. And for the Bowling Blitz, we're going to take the tagline to heart. So here's to rocking and bowling into 2021.